You can almost feel the interview change gears. It starts with fireworks and celebration, and within seconds it's a question that really only has one of two possible answers. But instead of taking that path, Burgum does something interesting. Every time Dana narrows the conversation, he widens it. She asks about one group. He talks about free speech. She asks about today. He goes back through American history. Whether you think that's the right response or not, it has an effect. The interview quietly stops being about one march in Washington and becomes a debate over what America is supposed to tolerate. And once that shift happens, it's much harder to pull the conversation back.
Here with me now is the man behind this week's celebrations, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. First, I was there last night, and those fireworks were there aren't even words for how amazing they were. I know the plan was 850,000 fireworks. The goal was to break the world record. Did it?
I'm confident we did. Anybody that saw it knows there's been nothing like that in the history of the U.S. It was really spectacular.
Okay, turning to something much more serious that happened yesterday, Secretary Burgum. Several hundred masked men belonging to the white nationalist group, the Patriot Front, marched with Confederate flags. And they did it through neighborhoods in the U.S. Capitol, at least near the Capitol, and they chanted, "Reclaim America." There's a widely circulated photograph, I'm sure you've seen it, taken by Reuters, of an African-American woman on a subway surrounded by members of this group. Are you concerned about this?
Well, I think we obviously, when we're celebrating America, we've had an incredible celebration, and this is a kickoff of a celebration year. But we know from our very founding that this was something that divided our nation. 85 years after those brave patriots signed the Declaration of Independence, we fought in the bloodiest war America's ever fought, the Civil War, and our nation survived thanks to the courage and leadership of Abraham Lincoln, and led us on a way. As we continue to move forward as a country, we can be an exceptional nation because our ideals are exceptional, that all men are created equal.
Do you condemn this group and what they were doing, and most importantly, what they stand for?
Well, I think that certainly what they stand for is nothing that I could possibly agree with, but one of the foundational principles of the United States, which makes democracy messy, is free speech. And there are plenty of things that I see that I might personally find offensive, irreprehensible, but in America, free speech is allowed, and this is by the whole spectrum of things. I mean, we're a country where someone can run and be elected saying that they're a communist, but yet this is what our nation has stood against and fought for, because we're about life and liberty. We're not about death and tyranny, which we know communism has brought across the country, and across history. So there are plenty of things in history, and those things can pop up. But the good news is, these small things, I think, are the rare example. What we saw last night, what we've seen this week, is people unifying around our country, unifying around the flag.
I want to move on, but do you, as Interior Secretary, will you recommend to the President that he condemn this group and what they were trying to message, what they did try to message here in Washington?
Well, there have been, Nana, part of my response to that is that there are protests on the Mall that people say things that I think are irreprehensible about President Trump. And yet they're allowed to go on because of free speech in our country. And so this is something, but you've seen President Trump. I was with him in North Dakota. I was with him at Mount Rushmore. I was with him last night.
White nationalism. It's, as you said, a part of America's history that still has pockets, but the fact that they were here in Washington on such an important day, I do want to move on.
But I do think, again, I mean, there are people that are saying death to Israel and death to America. I mean, this is part of free speech in America. They can say it, we can object to it, but it is something that comes with free speech in America.
I want to ask.
Now the conversation moves from something symbolic to something people can actually see. A reflecting pool either looks finished or it doesn't. That's why this part matters. Listen carefully, because Burgum doesn't just defend the project, he challenges the entire premise behind the criticism. First, it's not peeling, then it's vandalism. Then the real problem becomes why the media is still asking about it. That's a subtle move, but it's an important one. When you start questioning the question instead of answering it, the conversation changes completely. You're no longer defending the project. You're defending the way the story is being told.
Ask you about the reflecting pool, because we spoke about a month ago, and the $16 million no-bid contract to renovate the reflecting pool was something you called fantastic, and you certainly defended the expediting contract in order to try to get it fixed in time for July 4th. Now, of course, chunks of paint are peeling off the floor. The algae has returned. What went wrong?
Well, the algae is all gone. I mean, that was a momentary thing as it was being refilled. There was algae in the pipes, but the new technology, the nanobubblers that have been installed, if you go down there today and look at it, it is completely clean and clear. And so for the first time, there's actual a solution that involves making sure that we've got an algae-free pond. It keeps being reported that this was paint. It was not paint. This was an industrial liner that was put into the pool for the very first time. Multiple layers, fixing 2.5 miles of expansion.
But it peeled off. Why? Why did that happen? Do you know?
It didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument. The reflecting pool is not just a pool on the mall. It is part of the Lincoln Memorial. And if anybody says that they're going to go and vandalize that, it's no different than if someone was throwing paint on Lincoln.
And you're 100% sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism? You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely can. And as we drain it, and we've got all the photographs we can see. I mean, there's no possible way.
The photographs of a person or people cutting a 300 or 350 foot gash in the bottom of the reflecting pool?
Dana, I'm not sure why you and others in the media think that you want to keep trying to question whether or not this is an industrial liner. Every farmer and rancher in America that's had their pickup liner lined by this sprayed on liner knows that you literally it would never just like peel off or fall off. This is like a strong material.
Yeah.
And it's the size of 8 football fields. And the only way you can end up with actual slices in one spot and not the other is that someone physically cut it. And so but the pool itself, it's not leaking. It was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. It's finally been fixed by President Trump. And the American flag blue is working perfectly. And again, it's beyond me why. I mean, the real scandal is about the fact that the state of our capital was in such total disrepair that some people, no one was reporting about. No one was reporting about the pro-Hamas graffiti on the.
By the end,
Secretary,
it barely feels like anyone's arguing about the reflecting pool anymore. Dana's saying the president made this a big deal, so people are going to ask if it worked. Burgum's saying, why are we still talking about one problem when so much else has been fixed? And honestly, that's probably the real debate underneath this entire interview, not whether the liner was damaged, not even who was right. It's about who gets to decide what represents an administration a single controversy or the bigger picture.
Copy that.
Because once people settle on that answer, they've usually decided how they feel long before every fact is in.
Mr. Secretary, you and I talked about this last month.
Yeah, and we're still talking about it.
Well, because it was July 4th and the reflecting pool was closed.
It was closed because it's surrounded by fireworks. It's closed every year on the 4th of July.
But it was closed prior to that in order to fix the reflecting pool.
No, it was closed because the largest fireworks display in the country we talked about was set up, and it lines either side of the reflecting pool. You can't have people around fireworks when they're being set up. Now that the fireworks will come down, the fence will come down. The fence was there because of the fireworks.
Copy that. I just want to ask you about one other potential issue here. In May, the president's armored motorcade of SUVs, which can weigh up to 20,000 pounds, drove across that new coating of the reflecting pool's floor. Could that have damaged it?
No, I was with him when we came that night. He didn't take the Beast. We were driving in a Cadillac Escalade. It is one of the presidential fleet of cars, but substantially lighter than what you're talking about. And at the time that we were there, they were still putting down the whole base level of this industrial rubber layer was not yet completed, and so there was no damage that night whatsoever. That was one of the questions we asked before we even brought the presidential motorcade there, but not a chance.
How much is it going to cost to fix? And are you going to use the same company that you did in the no-bid contract, or will you open it up to new bids?
We'll use the same company because they did a fantastic job. I mean, even with this damage of the gash that we're talking about, you're talking about, again, this is the size of 8 football fields. It is 8 acres, and we're talking about like 0.001%. Thankfully, the vandalism was small. It was bad. I mean, it could be cost tens of thousands of dollars to repair, so then it could fall into a felony thing, just like damaging any other government property could. But it is this is the job that was done to fix the reflecting pool was done extremely well. And hopefully we can move on to this and just talk about, how we can continue to do things like take care of this was a deferred maintenance problem. We have deferred maintenance problems across our parks. President Trump is ready to sign the Great American Outdoors Act, which would bring the dollars to help fix all of our parks, not just ones like the National Mall, which is free, but help bring that across the country.
Can I just ask you about the vandalism? There is an Olympian, David Hearn, who was indicted for vandalism. The maximum sentence is 10 years in prison. He says he didn't do anything other than reach into the reflecting pool and pull out and look at a piece of the liner that had already been cut. Do you really think he should face a 10-year prison sentence for doing this? This is somebody who competed for America and did extremely well there, and is saying he didn't do anything wrong?
You can be a former governor, you can be a former this, you can be a former that, but just because you were a former something doesn't exclude you from the law today.
Yeah, that's fair. But he says he didn't do anything to actually hurt it other than pick it up because it was already peeling.
Well, he can say what he wants to say. I wasn't there. I was not an eyewitness. I mean, the courts will decide. But I think the law stands. That is the law that exists, and it should be, again, if people are, damaging federal government property, if people are defaming our monuments, they should face the consequences of that. So the courts will decide.
Secretary Burgum, happy 250. Thank you so much for everything, and appreciate you coming in.
Well, and I appreciate I would love to come on sometime and actually talk about the great things going on in America, as opposed to this myopic focus on a single one. We restored 48 monuments, 22 fountains, eliminated 1,000 graffiti sites. The Capitol's looking better than ever, and I can't understand why people want to keep talking about beautiful reflecting pool.
I take your point, and I think the answer is because the president sets the tone, and he talks about it nonstop, because he was so proud of it, which is why we're following up on what you did to try to fix it.
And he should be proud of it, because no one has fixed up our Capitol more than President Trump has during the time he's been here. He's shown the pride that he has in America. He's shown that as a country we can stand and think about our future. This is the kickoff of our 250th year. President Trump, in those 3 speeches that I saw him give the last few days, he was incredible respect for the past, gratitude for the present and all the people that have great, including our military, our law enforcement. And then he gave us in all 3 speeches in the last 4 days, inspiration for the future. That's something that we should focus on, because the vast majority of Americans, care deeply about this country. They care about their communities. They care about their families. And that is absolutely something we celebrate. We are the freest, strongest country in the world. We should be celebrating that versus focusing myopically on the few bad actors that may want to spoil the party.
Yeah.